Hello and welcome to another episode of Mixed Media Monday. I'm Eric Scott, and as usual, I'm here just to kind of work on some things, just to kind of show you how easy it is to get into that habit of working on art. And a lot of times folks get in that mindset like, oh, I got to sit down and have to make a masterpiece. And so for the first part of this series, I've been sitting down and making little tiny pieces of art, all within about 30 minutes or so. And then last week, I kind of switched to working in a big journal. And I kind of made the switch because I wanted to kind of get back into working in my journal, and I just started a new one. And so I want to show you all how simple it is to sit down and for a little bit of time, just get your hands moving and not really worry so much about having some kind of idea or some kind of notion or some kind of plan of what you're going to make, and just kind of letting yourself make and not having that plan. I think is just it's a good way to get into the making part. So let's go ahead and get into our making today. So underneath this pile of stuff, I have my journal, and so what I thought today was I thought I'd go ahead and work with collage materials. This is what I call fodder, kind of like the food for the journal. And this is it's a collection of things over the last couple months. Some of it's from recent travels, some of it's just been kind of sitting around the studio. And so I thought I'd go ahead and start with that. So I'm just going to leave that off to the side. And then what I like to do is flip through my book and start to think about like where some of that stuff might go. The other thing is I've got a pair of scissors, and I've got my glue stick. So I use UHU Glue Stic, my favorite brand. It's acid-free, non-toxic, it's water soluble, so it cleans up pretty easily. So like I said, a lot of times I just sort of flip through my journal and find a space for things. And so right off the bat, I'm looking over and I've got some little monster drawings that I did. And I did these with some kids at a local event. And I had a table. It was kind of a community thing. And so I just did these quick little monster drawings. And, maybe they need to live in my journal now. And so I just kind of want to find a spot where they might go. And even though this monster has nothing to do with what's happening on this page, it's just a good spot. It just kind of seems to fit there. So I'm going to grab a scrap of paper. Actually, I'm grabbing a little spiral bound book that I've had and I've used. And if you've tuned in before, you know that this is my glue paper, and it's just a pad of blank paper that I've used, and just keeps my surfaces from getting messy, and allows me to spread the glue all over. So I turn my collage material over, grab my glue stick. Now this glue stick was really bright blue at one point. I'm getting down to the end, and it's white, but it hasn't dried out completely. And the reason I use this glue paper is it allows me to really spread the glue all the way to the edge and really cover the back. And I think that's one of the big mistakes that folks make whenever they're using glue stick. I know some folks really don't like glue stick at all. And, it's like they like using other adhesives, and, you use what you like, but I think sometimes glue stick gets a bad rap. And I think, hey, if you use it effectively and efficiently, it's going to serve you well. So what I like to do is I'm not going to rub it on the front because it's crayon. So I rub it from the back. And then there we go. So I do this a lot where I'll sit down and sometimes I'll try to glue stuff kind of in the moment. So as I'm traveling, I'll, try to glue it in. Other times it just stuff accumulates and I don't really have a plan for it. And so I just sort of flip through, try to find some space. And I don't know if I'll use these or not. kind of like this monster on this page, maybe down here. So this one has a lot of glue on it, so I just turn the page. And maybe turn it this way, and I have room down here if I want to glue something else. So yeah, I've had this glue book for years now, and it's just like I said, it keeps my surfaces clean. I don't get glue all over my journal or my table. But really getting the glue covering the back, I think that's the kind of like the big important thing with collaging. So with the collage, I don't go out and buy stuff. I don't use images or things. I know a while back it was very common for folks to go to antique stores and get vintage photographs and book pages. I try to find stuff that I get like in my everyday life. So whether it's the tags from traveling or doing parking at some spot, just whatever. I mean, just really trying to find things that I accumulate or photos that I've taken. This right here is just some notes that I've taken about some ceramic pieces I've made. I don't know if I'm going to glue that in yet. And just, like I'm just flipping through. Actually, I'm kind of to the point like, oh, well, what do I have? Because I mean, it's like I've got a big pile of stuff. So sometimes I need to like kind of go through. And like I said, some of this is from my travels. And there's a little monster that a child drew. They just left it. So I was like, oh, that's mine. Same way with that one. I don't know if I'll glue those in yet. Just a random piece of craft paper. Actually, maybe I'll do something with this. I know I want to do something with this. Okay. So anyway, I've got a couple of things here that I know I want to work with. This little sad monster was a sympathy card that some students made for me whenever my little chihuahua passed away. So actually that was his picture. Right there. So that's him. So I kind of feel like this needs to go on here. So the journal really is a good place to remember those things, to kind of honor and even process stuff. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cover this with glue. So it's a card. So I'm going to just put the glue on the back. This is a good thing, it's like if you have cards, if you have postcards, if you just things that you're like, oh, I don't want to throw them away, but then maybe it's not something that you're going to keep and put in a memento box. But then it's sort of like, well, why have a memento box when you can have a visual journal? And it's like your mementos can be out and about and doing something. And so it just creates a little card there, a little open space. And I always kind of flip over the page and rub it from the back. And this was a collaborative drawing that we did with some students out in Oklahoma. And so it's kind of like, oh, where do I want to put this? This is kind of the Oklahoma pages. So I can kind of go here, but then maybe it'll have to get cut up. But then things aren't always chronological for me. And so if things aren't aren't with the other things that from that time period, that's fine. I think I do want to cut this up. And if I fold it in half, I can cut it in half. So I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I have to go in chronological order because it's a journal. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, mine are fairly chronological, but not completely. All right, so that gives me 4 little pieces. And so I can kind of play around with how they might go. I kind of feel like it'd be interesting. Do something like that. Yeah, I like that. That's a little dirty. So by sitting down and just focusing on using one material, kind of one process, just allows me to add without overthinking. You know, it's not so much about like, oh, I'm trying to make this extremely meaningful page. You know, it's just about let me add these here because it looks interesting. Where there's an empty space. That's what a lot of times that's what it is. It's like I'll flip through my book and be like, oh, there's an empty space there that needs to be filled. So this is just a great way of adding, of getting to work, of getting your hands moving and not being kind of bogged down with that thought like, okay, I've got to have this amazing idea going. And I think too often, you know, we'll sit down and be like, oh, I don't know what I want to make, or I don't know what I want to do. And we can kind of sit there for the longest time and kind of twiddle our thumbs. And it's like, well, if we just start gluing something in. So last time it was paint. Today it's collage. Yeah, and just sitting down for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour or so. It's amazing how quickly things start to build up. And what I find is that the meaning comes. Now, not every page needs to have a theme or an idea or a concept or some kind of special meaning behind it. But that often will come. Now, sometimes there's already words and there's already things written on a page. There's already themes and things going on. And so then how do those things, actually, let's go back to this word tension. So maybe I have something here. I don't know. Maybe I have something here in my pile. that I can use that. So I've got another monster, got some more collaborative pieces. Let's see, got some papers. I've got a map. So I love maps, and I get a lot of atlases. And so I think, it might be interesting to have, let's use this. And so this, this map is Louisiana. Yes, I've been to New Orleans a few times, but it's like, it really has no personal meaning to me. It's not why I'm using it. So some of the other stuff I use because, yeah, it does have personal meaning for me. But I'm using the map more because it's because of what it represents, the symbolic nature of the map, an idea of travel or a journey. But what's interesting, though, is if you take it and now the word tension, and then you have a map, and then what does that, juxtaposing those things together starts to create some other kind of meaning. I don't know what that meaning is yet. I don't know where this is going. And so that map might really stay there. It might probably end up getting covered over with other things like paint and ink and such. Do I want, just kind of looking through what else I've got. I'm just thinking, like, do I want to have some more map? I think I do. I think this needs to have a little bit more. So maybe the stripe. Sometimes turning stuff upside down is a good way of playing around with things. I think this glue stick is about gone, about done. Oops. All right. So again, the juxtaposition of collage materials with things already on the page start to create meaning. The other thing I just kind of want to do is, a lot of times I will, just like I use paint to start pages, a lot of times I'll use collage as well. I'm just trying to find, here's a nice empty 2-page spread, totally totally devoid of anything. So I think I'll go ahead and use the map. And just going to cut a couple strips. And so the reason I did this is I wanted the map to go all the way across the page. And I love using maps, and actually collage in general, more as lines. And I think it's something that we don't think too much about. We're used to just shapes. Now, yes, technically this is a shape. It's a long, skinny rectangle. But because it's long, we start to read it as a line. And so one piece isn't quite enough. So that's why I have a second piece. And then go ahead and glue that in. Yeah, that one's gone. Let's go ahead and so just like I might paint a line or draw a line to help divide up the space of a page, collage can do that too. It's definitely one of my favorite things. I left it a little bit long. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. But left a little bit long. I'll trim it after it dries. But so that gives me a start to this spread and starts to create some different spaces that I can work in. All right. So I hope that you enjoyed just that quick look about how you can use collage, just to kind of add some shapes, add some lines, just add some random things to a book. And you could do this in a journal. You could do this on separate pieces of paper. I do that a lot. I think I may have mentioned this last time, that a lot of times I'll sit down and I'll work on 5 or 6 or 7 pieces at a time. And then, I'll do paint first, and then I'll do some collage, and, just kind of using the same materials, the same techniques, but then doing it on multiple pieces. So anyway, just another day of working in the journal, just to show you how you can sit down and do a single process, a single technique, a single material, and start to really build up some richly layered pages and papers and whatever. So hope you appreciate that. I'm so glad that you were able to join me. And yeah, I'll be back next week. So tune in then, and see you then. And as always, happy creating.